Hey guys, I just wanted to make a quick little video here to show you a couple things about the basics of removing the X-clamps, as well as cleaning up the dies on the chips and cleaning up the heat sinks. Now, I used to use what's called Arctic Clean. It's a two-step process. It actually has a first part, which is a oil. It's a citrus oil that's used for cleaning it, and has a second part, which is a purifier. I actually found something that works a little bit better. It's a little bit cheaper. I wouldn't say it works better, but it's cheaper anyway. This is Gugon, and it's basically the same thing. It's a citrus oil cleaner. Now, if you're going to use this, you need to make sure you remove all the residue, because it is an oil. So to clean it off when I'm done, my purifier, quote unquote, is 91% isopropyl alcohol, and I actually store it in a hairdresser's bottle, which makes it really easy to dispense. So I'm just a little bit on how I remove this stuff and a few other things. So for the heat sinks, all I do is I just spray it on, and this is not the stock paste, so I just kind of pulled these out to make the video, and I usually leave it on while I'm doing the actual reflow, and that way I can go ahead and work, and it makes it a lot easier to wipe away when I'm ready. So I'm going to hand the camera off to my helper and show you the rest. So not too much interesting to see here, other than I'm just going to wipe it off. So if you can see how cleanly that comes off, it'll leave a little bit of residue behind, just rub in a circular motion, and then, like I said, I go over it with isopropyl alcohol and a clean rag to remove that oil. The alcohol actually works as a solvent, so it further dilutes that oil so you can wipe it away, and I usually go over it twice just for good measure. Now, on the heat sinks, for cleaning the paste off there, I actually use a Q-tip, and what I do is I don't actually spray this stuff on the board, because it makes it a lot harder to clean up. So I actually spray a little bit on the Q-tip here, and then I'll just make my way around the chip and kind of get the paste on the chip wet, and then I'll let it sit for a few minutes and then go ahead and flush with isopropyl. Now, usually if you're going to use if you're going to flood this chip with alcohol, you need to pre-bake the board before you go ahead and reflow or lift the chip for a reball. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. This will leave some moisture content, so if you don't pre-bake before you do your reflow, you can popcorn the chip and ruin the chip. So I usually go ahead and spray on top, clean that off, and then I also get underneath here to clean out any impurities or dirt that is built up underneath the ball grid array. After I'm done pre-baking, I'll let the board cool, and then I'll go ahead and put on my flux solution and start reworking. The other thing I want to show you is how much thermal paste to apply. By the way, I switched over. When I originally started, I used Arctic Silver, which proved to be kind of expensive, and I've had just as good a results with ceramic too. It's made up by the same company, made by Arctic Silver. It's just a lot cheaper. This is actually a 25-gram tube, which will last quite a while, and I got this on eBay for about $10 to $12 around there. So just to show you, I actually this board's already reballed and ready to go. I just kind of pulled it out to show you, but this is about how much paste I'm going to use. I'm just going to put a tiny dot on here. It's actually hard to put any less than that amount. It's about the size of a grain of rice. So all we want here is for it to fully cover the die in between the heatsink. You don't need any more of that. You do not have to layer it on here. Also, this is non-conductive, so if you get it on other parts of the chip, a little overrun, it's not going to hurt anything. I don't like to put it on the heatsink itself. That's just the way I do my methods. Like I've said before, everybody has their own methods, and I'm just sharing mine with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and put the CPU heatsink on first. That's what works good enough for me. And the X-clamps. The X-clamps I'm going to go ahead and just snap into place here, and I just apply pressure to each side until I can get them to all lock into place. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So anyways, that's one's being finicky, but I'll get to that later. So I'm going to go ahead and put on this other X-clamp and show you guys how I actually these. There's a lot of different methods to removing the X-clamps. I actually used to use a needle nose pliers to remove them and bend them back. I actually found a lot safer way to do this. Now, my way of doing it, some may say that it bends the X-clamps, but in my opinion, if you do your reworking correctly with the ball grid array, having that strong ball grid array, the X-clamps don't make a huge amount of difference. So I just want to show you my method. This is probably the safest way that I've found to actually remove them. So all I'm going to do is stick the screwdriver in here, and I'm just going to, in between the heatsink and this bolt, and I'm just going to pry back on it a little bit. And I'll actually go around to each side until all four come off, so it pops off just like that. Okay, and let's go ahead and take the other one off. The other thing I want to show you is how much coverage area we got out of this thermal paste. Like I said, just enough to cover it. It's actually the thinner a layer, the better. After doing a full cleanup on these boards, I've tested this on a JTAG that actually tells me the temperatures, and I've seen a reduction from, say, 70 degrees, 75 degrees on a stock Xbox console to a fan modded and re-cleaned chip to down to about 55 degrees Celsius. So that's a 15 degree difference between that. I've heard people talk about fan mods, and I'd have to disagree with them. Thermal paste should last quite a few years, or at least a few years, probably longer than you're going to want to be playing your console unless you're a collector. So a fan mod to me isn't the worst thing in the world. It actually makes a temperature difference of around 20 degrees Celsius. 20 degrees Celsius is probably around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a huge temperature difference. So if you can imagine, if this chip has problems due to thermal stress and a stock console is running 75 degrees, and then after a fan modification and a good cleaning that's running 55 degrees Celsius, that is a massive, massive, massive difference. So that's just my 2 cents, guys. I just wanted to show you how I do things and give you guys some help out there in case you're still learning. So have a good night. Thank you.